Shalom, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem HaKadosh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, or the true leaders of Israel today, and salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who are risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen, but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds, who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai, and the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as were the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalia, and this video is on the Bible prophecy of America's allies turning against her. And so we have another update, as this has been one of the hot topics for the week regarding world events and world events correlating with Bible prophecy, where Trump has been making moves that the allies of America are not liking too much, and they are feeling very offended by it, and they're making certain kinds of moves. And what's happening here is the prophecy that it will be leading to, which is in Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16. And the 10 horns, which is the European Union, which thou sawest upon the beast, which is NATO, these shall hate the whore, which is America. America is known as Mystery Babylon the Great. America is known as the whore that rides the beast, because she's at the head. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So the ultimate result will be America's allies, NATO and the European Union, turning against America and burning her with fire, because America's judgment is going to be destruction by way of thermonuclear fire. That will be happening at the end of World War III. And this will also happen after the mark of the beast prophecy, which is the microchip, is fulfilled. So given that it's a part of Bible prophecy, things are going to be happening to bring about and to build up, heading towards the deterioration of the relationship, to the eventual, allies of America completely turning against her and shooting those ICBM missiles to destroy her. What we have in the news is the continued story of how America's allies are feeling very offended by the moves that Trump has been making. And here we have it from RT. Macron calls for massive defense plan for EU. The bloc should reduce its dependence on the US military, the French president has said. The EU needs to develop a massive defense plan and boost military investment due to rising tensions with Russia and US President Donald Trump's stance on the Ukraine conflict, French President Emmanuel Macron has said. Speaking at a Q&A session on Twitter on Thursday, the French leader stressed that EU members must reduce their reliance on the US over the next 5 to 10 years. We need innovative European spending to innovate together, maybe in the first place to help Ukraine, but also for ourselves, Macron said, arguing that significant investment in the military should come in the coming weeks. The French leader claimed that the world has entered a new era in which states have to increase defense spending while diminishing the population's purchasing power. So just a side note, population's purchasing power, how that will potentially affect your purchasing power being in the country. He also addressed the shift in Washington's strategy on the Ukraine conflict, which this week saw US officials hold their first high-level talks on resolving the crisis with their Russian counterparts since February 2022. I'm going to tell US President Donald Trump, you can't be weak with Russian President Vladimir Putin. That's not who you are. It's not your trademark. It's not in your interest, Macron said, noting that he is due to meet the US leader in Washington on Monday. Macron has for years championed the creation of a European army, initially floating the idea in 2018 during Trump's first term. His remarks at the time did not result in any real action, with NATO officials voicing concerns that any new army would compete with the bloc rather than complement it. Trump has consistently demanded that Washington's European allies boost their defense spending, complaining that the US is bearing the main burden. Following the EU's exclusion from the US Russia talks in Saudi Arabia this week. So that's where, it started to really pick up because, they're feeling offended. They feel that, NATO and the EU, that they should be a part of these talks because they are allies to America. And so they have a stake in this entire situation. But America's like, oh no, she's going to do her own thing. So they're feeling some type of way. And remember, these are also Edomite sovereign nations, and they have power as well. The scriptures say it, man. In Revelation chapter 17, it says, where to start? I'll just break down starting from verse 9. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. So the woman being America, and the mountains represent governments / kingdoms. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen. So you have the 7 kings, which are Germanium Major, Germanium Minor. You have the Greek, Spanish, French, Rome, and the UK. And then the 5 that are fallen are Germanium Major, Germanium Minor, the French, the Spanish, the Greek. And then it says, and one is, which is talking about Rome, the Romans. And the other is not yet come, which is talking about the UK. So that's 7. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So, the British ruled for a period of time. And the beast that was and is not, talking about Rome, even he is the 8th, because it is of the 8th because it came back. The Roman Empire came back in the form of America. So America is that 8th and is of the 7 and goeth into perdition. It goeth into perdition because America is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast, which are those EU nations. So, they have benefited from America's power and America's tyranny and everything that America has done. And these other countries, European countries, have lived lavishly with America. And they have received strength from America. And so they feel powerful as well. So they have a spirit upon them at this point in time where they are emboldened to feel like they should be taking part in these kinds of discussions, no matter what the situation is. But America, being the whore that rides the beast at the top, she's like saying whatever she can do. And then, because of the ruler that Trump is, as the scriptures say in the book of Isaiah, chapter 19, and verse 4, it says, and the Egyptians, which is talking about the Americans, will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. So they have been given a cruel and fierce king, which is Trump. He's just doing whatever he wants to do. He doesn't really care about what's happening with his allies. He's just doing his own thing. So that's a very, type of spirit to have, plus all of the other things that are going on with Trump. So this is causing a dissension of the relationship between America and her allies, as we can clearly see it. Oh, and here is a visual representation. All right. So it says, following the EU's exclusion from the US-Russia talks in Saudi Arabia this week, Macron called an emergency summit in a bid to drum up the bloc's unity and discuss ways to ensure its role in the settlement of the Ukraine conflict. President Putin has dismissed claims that Russia plans to attack Western countries, describing the speculation as nonsense. He has also repeatedly said that one of the key causes of the Ukraine conflict was NATO's expansion towards Russia's borders. Okay, so that's what's going on there. And then from this article, regarding this website RT, when you see something like this right here in the red, like this, for them it's like breaking news. So Germany issues warning to US. So you have France saying something. So let's see what Germany has to say. And this was all today, February 21st, 2025. Europe should make it clear to President Trump that failure to back liberal democracies will come at a price, Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has insisted. Europe should not hesitate to put pressure on the US if it fails to fall in line with the liberal democracies, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock said on Friday. The diplomat made the remark following talks between the US and Russia that excluded representatives from the EU and Ukraine. Speaking at a campaign rally in Potsdam on Friday, the Green politician stated, "We're increasing pressure on the Americans so they know they have a lot to lose if they don't stand on the side of Europe's liberal democracies." You can see, I mean, it's literally happening, right? The whole relationship, and you can feel the tension just by reading the article. Well, at least I feel it by reading the article, the tension between America and her allies. With respect to EU-US relations, Baerbock warned against drawing any precipitous conclusions, remarking that nothing has been decided there. No one can decide about war and peace for the Ukrainians or us Europeans, and this is the clear German stance, she insisted. She also warned against forcing Kiev into a phony peace or capitulation, which she said would only invite further war and violence. A rift has opened up between Washington and Brussels since US President Donald Trump took office last month. Trump has taken a tougher stance on trade with the EU by threatening tariffs and demanded that its European NATO partners boost spending on collective defense. Right, that's also happening as well. He has put tariffs upon, Trump, representing America, has put tariffs on their allies. And why would you do that? Why would you put your allies in a position that weakens their current position? That doesn't make any sense. It's just a whole rift among the Edomites. This is their kingdom, and they are the wicked, and they are the so-called white people. Addressing Munich Secretary Conference attendees last Friday, US Vice President J.D. Vance delivered a sobering speech to Europe's political elite, suggesting that the biggest threat the continent is facing is one coming from within the erosion of democracy. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat, the official stated, concluding that if you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you. The speech sent shockwaves across governments, with leaders including Germany's Olaf Scholz scrambling to rebuke Vance's assertions. The fallout was further highlighted when Washington and Moscow held high-level talks in Saudi Arabia this week without bothering to invite EU representatives. This perceived slight prompted an outpouring of anguish and indignation on the continent. Trump blasted Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky this week, branding him a dictator without elections, but a number of European leaders have rejected the US president's assertion that he lacks legitimacy. In an interview with Fox on Friday, Trump said he sees no point in having Zelensky involved in peace talks with Russia. He also insisted that French President Emmanuel Macron and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer haven't done anything to put an end to the bloodshed in Ukraine for the 3 years it started. So, Bible prophecy is at hand. The Edomites are divided. I don't know what the scriptures say about that, but before I get that, I want to go to the book of Obadiah. And verse 7, all the men. So this book, Obadiah, it says concerning Edom, who are these so-called white people. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. So all of those aligned with America, the men that were at peace with thee, have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. So they have eaten the bread, right? They have sat at the same table as America, and they've benefited from her ways and what she's done and her tyranny and everything. But, they have become emboldened, and they're starting to talk up, and they're feeling slighted by the actions of Trump and by America. So they're going to be going against them. as Bible prophecy says, that they will aid in America's destruction. And so all of this infighting by the Edomites, as the scripture says, now we know that Esau's kingdom is coming to an end. The scriptures say that for Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And so we're seeing the symptoms of why a kingdom falls occurring to Esau, Edom. And Yahushua said in Mark chapter 3 and verse 24, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but at an end. And Esau, Edom's kingdom is coming to an end, man. This is a symptom of it, the clashing of the Edomites. You have the allies, America, NATO, and the EU. There's a dissension among them. Then you have another Edomite power, which is Russia, that is doing its thing. And so their kingdom is just completely fragmented. And the scripture says it. If a house is divided, it cannot stand. If a kingdom is divided against itself, it cannot stand. And if Satan casts out Satan, he has but an end. And that's what they're going to be doing, man. Satan here referring to the Edomites. They're going to be going against each other. So they have an end, and that end is going to lead to the destruction of America, which is Mr. Babylon the Great. So very beautiful times indeed, and more will come. And Yahweh Shemishai is clearly speeding this thing up, man. With that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemishai, by Shemakah Kodesh, Shalom.